did you understand? Well, my next question then is, did Sergeant Nkosi know that you were talking about a private business deal?
Of course. Yes, SC, he did know.
And his response is, I know when you grow, I will grow too.
He's happy for me. If he gets a promotion at work, I'm happy for him. It's friends being happy for each other when there's growth in their respective lives.
I see.
No, Mr. Minister, that's not what that message is. You can read it and consider it again. That response that says, when you grow, I will grow too. It's clear that he's saying your growth will lead to his own growth. That's what that message says. So do reconsider your answer.
No, Commissioner, respectfully, I don't reconsider my answer. I read this message, I understood this message to mean, I'm happy for you, my friend, in the same way I would say to him as well. It's a form of expression. We had a deep friendship with Sergeant Nkosi. So I respectfully stick to the answer that I've given. I read this message, I understood it, that he's happy for me.
He's not just happy for you. He says, your growth will lead to his own growth.
Yes.
You can't say your answer, therefore, your answer cannot be that, well, when I succeed, he congratulates, and when he succeeds, I also congratulate. The message doesn't convey that. The message conveys, on its own terms, it conveys that whatever growth you are going to be reaping from this business, big business deal that you are going for, he knows that that growth for you will lead to his own growth. That has nothing to do with his employment. There is a clear relationship that he's creating. You may want to say he had no business to create a relationship, but the text creates a relationship. That you must accept. No, I am asking the witness a question, and the witness can answer. And if you want to re-examine, you can do that. But I will not allow you to interfere with my question. And if the witness doesn't want to answer, that's it. That's his answer. But I must insist the witness must answer my question. Mr. Mnisi, answer my question.
Commissioner, I respectfully disagree with you. I understood this message to be a friend, happy for your friend. He even says, "Phakama mfowethu, ixesha lifike." That for me is a guy who's happy for me. That's how I understood the message at the time. That's how I still understand it now. And that's the answer that I'm providing to you as the Commissioner.
Thank you for your answer.
The suspended Tshwane Chief Financial Officer, Gareth Mnisi, has defended his inaction over suspected irregularities in a contentious security tender process, telling the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry that he lacked sufficient evidence to intervene. His testimony on Tuesday unfolded as a tense and often combative exchange between Mnisi and the Commission's evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson and members of the panel. The session was marked by persistent questioning, repeated attempts to keep Mnisi focused, and growing frustration from commissioners over what they viewed as evasive and overly elaborate responses. At the center of the inquiry is Mnisi's role in the awarding and subsequent cancellation of municipal security tenders, as well as his conduct as a chairperson of the Siege of Tshwane's Bid Adjudication Committee. In that capacity, Mnisi had access to sensitive tender documentation and oversight of the evaluation process, responsibilities that Commissioner suggested he may have failed to execute appropriately. A significant portion of the day's proceedings focused on Mnisi interactions with Sergeant Fani Nkosi, a figure whose connection to the tender process has raised concerns. Nkosi's brother owns one of the companies that bid for the contracts under scrutiny, a fact that has intensified questions around potential conflicts of interest and the improper flow of information. Commissioners pressed Mnisi on his decision to share internal municipal documents with Nkosi, including a letter detailing the termination of service provider. Mnisi maintained that at the time he believed the information would not benefit the sergeant and was merely part of an ongoing discussion between the two. However, Commissioner Sandile Khumalo challenged this reasoning, suggesting that Mnisi's actions amounted to involving Nkosi in operational matters that had no relevance to him. After sustained questioning, Mnisi considered that sharing the document had been inappropriate, but insisted it was done in the context of what he described as closing the loop on prior discussions about the tender process. Khumalo was unconvinced pointing out that the terminated company was a direct competitor to Nkosi's brother's business, meaning the information could have been used to gain an unfair advantage. The exchange underscored the Commission's broader concern that confidential municipal information may have been mishandled. This concern was further amplified when commissioners indicated their intention to obtain Mnisi's employment contract, arguing that his conduct may have breached confidentiality obligations. Mnisi rejected the suggestion, asserting that the documents he shared did not contain sensitive information and were part of routine communication. Earlier in the day, attention turned to discrepancies in the tender evaluation timeline, an issue that appeared to unsettle the witness. Just Carlson walked Mnisi through documentation, indicating that the BAC had recorded a recommendation for the tender on 28 May 2025, while the scoring sheets were dated a day later, 29 May. Mnisi acknowledged both dates but dismissed the sequence as an anomaly, a characterization that drew sharp scrutiny. Just Carlson argued that the timeline suggested a predetermined outcome, effectively rendering the scoring process meaningless. The evidence leader put it to him, if the recommendation was made on 28 May and the scoring on 29 May, then you have a series of BAC members participating in a fraud. Mnisi was hesitant to engage with the assertion, initially stating that he could not comment without corroborating evidence. Even after being encouraged to respond, he maintained that it would be speculative to conclude that fraud has occurred, and said, "I can't answer that question without evidence to rely on," adding that he would be making assumptions about actions of others. The Commission, however, appeared less cautious in its interpretation. Just Carlson described the sequence of events as constituting prima facie evidence of fraud, while Commissioner Ceci Baloyi stressed that Mnisi, as CFO, had a duty to interrogate such irregularities. Baloyi suggested that even in the absence of definitive proof, the circumstances warranted further investigation, something Mnisi did not pursue at the time. In response, Mnisi acknowledged that, in hindsight, the BAC should have taken stronger action, noting that the committee included legal and technical experts capable of addressing such concerns. Despite this concession, the broader impression left by Mnisi's testimony was one of defensiveness and reluctance to accept accountability. Throughout the session, he was repeatedly cautioned to answer questions directly, as commissioners grew increasingly impatient with what they perceived as attempts to deflect or dilute the issues at hand. The inquiry is expected to continue probing Mnisi's conduct, particularly his handling of sensitive information and his response to apparent irregularities in the tender process. Meanwhile, Nkosi, whose involvement has become a focal point of the proceedings, is expected to learn the outcome of his bail application on Wednesday. Meanwhile, lawyers representing the suspended chief financial officer have formally complained that their client is not being granted sufficient time to address questions before the Matlanga Commission. During Tuesday's session, Mnisi legal representative Annelien van der Heever accused the Commission of attempting to silence her client and said, "We believe that to put to the witness that he is wasting the time of the Commission and the manner in which he answers is unfair on the witness. To edit his responses is equally unfair. At the end of the day, of course, you are entitled to disagree with what he is saying. That is accepted." Commission Chairperson Boysen Matlanga maintained that Mnisi has consistently provided unnecessary explanations for the straightforward questions. He emphasized that the Commission is operating under strict time constraint to finalize its mandate. Justice Matlanga clarified his stance on the witness's conduct and said it cannot be that all the time you must explain. Having explained to Mr. Mnisi that you cannot explain all your answers, it was in that context I made that point that we have limited time. I understand where you are coming from, but I will never agree that Mr. Mnisi will be given a free hand to explain even when it is not necessary. The chairperson noted that while the Commission had been patient during the initial probing, a boundary has to be set, and said I will be the first person that allows him to explain when that is necessary, but we must reach a point where we say, Mr. Mnisi, you cannot explain each and every response to give. What's your take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.